Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Bedtime with Tomi. This evening we will be reading chapter 17, Clara. The next afternoon, a black Range Rover sped along the driveway leading up to the main road to the palace. Clara's eyes widened at the sight of the imposing red bricks, many glass windows, and a perfectly manicured lawn. Her stomach somersaulted. Which palace is this? Kensington Palace. This is one of the oldest royal residences, dating back to William and Mary in 1689, Michael offered. Did Leeds mention where he lives? No, he never told me. The car entered into a small courtyard, and Michael parked it and turned off the motor. Her eyes roamed, taking in foliage and a small fountain. I mean, I figured a prince would live in a palace, but thinking about it and seeing it in the flesh are two very different things. I understand where you're coming from. It was a bit of an adjustment when I came to work for Leeds, too. I'd never pictured myself driving his car about London, but here I am. Michael mused. What were your plans before you met him? I always thought I'd spend my entire working life in the army, but once I'd served under Captain Leeds' command for 2 years, he'd earned my respect. You're not going to tell me what he did to earn your respect, are you? Another story for another ride, miss. Michael's lips twisted. Here we are, apartments 1A and 1B. Let me pop around and assist you. Clara positioned herself as the car door opened, careful to resist the urge to step down. Michael held the crutches out as he offered his arm to her. The more practice she got in, the better. He let her do most of the maneuvering until she was ready to move. Thanks, Michael. All part of the job, Miss Little. He closed the car door and indicated Clara should follow him. Stairs. The enemy. At least they're not too steep. If you take my left arm and use the rail, it might be a bit easier. The door to the apartment clicked open. David rushed down toward her. Today he wore fitted dove gray trousers and a blue button-up shirt. How should she greet him? He laughed. Welcome to my flat. It doesn't look very flat. His eyes sparkled in amusement. A flat is the term we use for an apartment in the UK. She inclined her head. I should have known. He ran a hand through his hair. I thought for today we might keep it a bit casual and have a picnic in the kitchen. I'd planned to take you out for a traditional English picnic, but the weather had other ideas. They both glanced at the darkened sky covered with thick, heavy clouds. Small droplets of water fell onto their shoulders. Let's get you out of the rain. His forehead creased. Do you mind being carried up steps? It might be a little easier than hopping up. Her heart beat a little faster and her breath hitched. Clara looked over at Michael, who stood back, giving them some privacy. If it's the fastest way. Leave the crutches here. I'll return for them in a moment. Placing an arm under her legs and another around her back, he scooped her to his chest. She was once again greeted with the woodsy scent. It was clean and masculine. The lightweight fabric of his shirt brushed against her cheek. It was linen, just like the lining of the suit jacket. Once inside, David carried her through the hallway with black and white checkered floors and deposited her into a chair in the kitchen. A wicker basket sat atop a quartz marble countertop. She expected it to be sleek and ultra-modern, but instead it was homey. The cabinets were made from rich oak, and plants sat on the windowsills. 2 floating shelves contained a small selection of cookbooks with colorful sticky note flags poking out the top. Nice kitchen. No on-call chef, she joked. David ran a hand through his hair. Eddie has a chef, but not me. I prefer to fend for myself. David, is she here? A man with a slouched posture appeared in the doorway. His eyes widened at Clara. He reminded her of a young schoolboy. He had a lanky 6-foot frame and sandy blonde hair with vibrant green eyes. Clara, please meet my cousin Edmund. Most people call him Eddie, though. Seeing the 2 cousins stand side by side, she noticed they shared a number of physical similarities, but Eddie was much leaner than David and built like a long-distance runner. Slowly lifting his chin to meet his gaze, he extended his hand and spoke softly. Miss Little, I want to offer you my sincerest apologies for my behavior toward you. I promise I will do whatever it is in my power to make it up to you. I spent the last 24 hours soul-searching, and I promise you that I won't ever let something like that happen again. The words tumbled out of his mouth, and his eyes burned with a passion as he spoke. I can tell he genuinely means that. I should be angry and resentful at him, but I can't be. Life is too short to hold grudges. He looks so much like a kid who's aware he's majorly screwed up, and from here on out will do his best to be a better person. If our encounter turns his life around, then actually, if it had to happen, I'm glad it was me. Apology accepted, Clara responded without missing a beat. Thank you, Miss Little. I knew you didn't have to, but thank you, Eddie said, releasing a deep breath. His shoulders relaxed somewhat, but he stood still, guarded. If it's all right with you two, I'll just be heading back over to my flat before I leave for the shelter. David nodded. I'll touch base with you later tonight. Clara held up her hand. Bye, Eddie. It was nice to meet you. He waved meekly and departed. Once the front door clicked closed, David busied himself moving around the kitchen, pulling out plates, cutlery, and glasses. As cross as I am with him, I'm also impressed with how he's handling himself. Maybe he will be ready for Sanders in a couple months. I heard from my uncle this morning that Eddie stayed up half the night writing up a plan of action of how he could start reforming himself, as he called it. His first order of business is going to be to spend the afternoon volunteering at a shelter for displaced people. Clara was learning to appreciate David's gentle soul. She was drawn in by his compassion and concern over his cousin. He's only just realized what adulting means, hasn't he? She remarked, resting her hands on the table. How old is he? I certainly hope so, David sighed. He's 20, almost 21. Does Eddie have any siblings? What about you? You don't know? He faced her, blinking slowly. If I did, I wouldn't be asking. She raised an eyebrow. I've heard your names before, of course, but I didn't see any reason to care about what your family's up to. I've always been laser focused on my dance career. She winced. That sounds terrible when I say it out loud. I'll leave out the part about Amanda's huge crush on Eddie. David doesn't need to think I'm any stranger than I already am. It's rare, but also incredibly refreshing to hear. His eyes crinkled. Eddie has a younger sister named Alice. As for me, I'm an only child. How about yourself? I'm an only child. She stared off at a plant. I don't know if I have any biological siblings. I was adopted when I was 2. She always found it challenging to discuss her family. She never wanted to be treated with sympathy once people learned she was adopted. She'd been lucky to have a set of parents who loved her, and in the end, that was all that truly mattered. Picking up on her mood, David changed the subject. He lifted open the lid of the basket, removing container after container of food. I wasn't sure about your food preferences, so I picked up a little bit of everything from the market. I have bread, meats, salad, fresh veggies, crackers, chips, crisps, and a few other odds and ends. I hope this will work for you. Definitely. The spread looks amazing. There's so many yummy options. She scooted forward in her seat. I can eat anything except shellfish. I'm allergic to them. She picked up a plate and started filling it. As they ate, their conversation started to flow. She worried she might not have much in common with the world, but as she was finding out, he did many of the same things a normal person did. Despite having a security detail for major outings, he didn't keep a household staff, and he preferred to do his own grocery shopping. David pushed his plate aside. You're more of a workaholic than I am. I can't even imagine waking up, spending all day rehearsing, having a dinner break, and then returning to the theater later in the night for a performance. It is a different lifestyle, I'll give you that, but I've always known that my career won't last forever. Most dancers retire by the time they hit their 30s. I'm hoping I'll be able to stay healthy enough to make it that far. Her cheeks burned. Theoretically, now that I'm a soloist, I won't have to dance every night anymore like I did when I was in the quarter ballet. Having that thing on your foot must be pure torture then. His gaze traveled to her cast. How are you going to get by for the next couple of weeks? I'm trying to look at it from a perspective that for the first time in a long time, my body is going to be able to fully rest. Besides my foot, I have some injuries from overuse that will have a chance to heal. She rubbed the back of her neck. On the flip side, my friend Amanda was joking that maybe I'd actually discover how to have a proper work-life balance. My extended layoff has given me a chance to do things I never thought I normally would, such as, she counted on her fingers, take a vacation, pick up a new hobby, catch up on a massive pile of Book of the Month Club books I subscribed to, and just leave sitting in their shipping envelopes. She shrugged. Who knows? Maybe they'll even sign up for a dating app or something. A funny expression crossed David's face, disappearing as quickly as it had appeared. Clara didn't think much of it. I hope you'll consider extending your stay in London a few days and turn it into the vacation you've been looking to take. I meant to ask who you'd mind if I stayed at the St. George a little while longer. I thought that since it's a luxury hotel, he held up his hand. I insist you stay as long as you'd like. 3 weeks, 6 months, a year, it doesn't make any difference to me. Thank you. Pushing her chair back, David scooted up, collected the dishes, and then put them in the sink. What show did you end up seeing on the West End yesterday? Hamilton. I totally understand what all the hype's about now. The music and songs were out of this world. It's such a 360 from what I'm used to. She pivoted in her chair to face him, enjoying the sight of him unbuttoning the cuffs of his dress shirt and rolling up the ends to his elbows. I might have to see another show before I leave London. I'm happy you had a brilliant time. He added some soap to a yellow sponge. Have you made any plans to do some sightseeing? Nothing fixed, but if Michael doesn't mind, I was thinking of asking him to drop me off at the British Museum. I've done a little research, and I think I might try squeezing in the National Gallery and maybe even catching the changing of the guard ceremony. She drummed her fingers on the table. The only question is, how much walking am I going to be able to handle? Turning on the tap, he slowly lathered a plate. If you'll hold off on the changing of the guard, I can arrange for you to watch it from the place where you can sit. Oh, wow, thanks. I also thought about you getting around that doesn't involve using crutches. She perked up with interest. Would you be open to using a wheelchair and letting me show you some of the city sights? She blinked slowly. I'm open to it, but what up with all the logistics? Does not involve having a security detail with you? And what about your work? I don't want to take you away from anything important. Leave that all to me. I'm a master multitasker. Another skill you've picked up by watching Sherlock? He turned and winked, then focused on the dishes. Waves of excitement shot through her body. He was so different than any man she'd ever been around. Not that she'd had much of a dating history to go by. Normally, she lived vicariously through Amanda. Wait, this isn't really a date. It's just lunch. We're just two people having a meal together, chatting about life. There isn't anything else going on. At least, I don't think there is. She gulped. She couldn't be falling for a man she'd only known 3 days. Could she? Well, what do you think? Is Clara starting to fall for David? Is David starting to fall for Clara? I guess we'll just have to wait to find out. If you'd like to read ahead of Dancing with the Royal, the ebook's available over on Amazon. Paperback or hardback are available wherever books are sold. I will continue next time with the next chapter. Until then, I'll see you next time.